Meanwhile, state representatives in Colorado are demanding answers following a report that ICE has been holding immigrants in at least 9 so-called secret makeshift detention facilities throughout that state. The report last week by the Colorado Times-Recorder contends that ICE detained thousands of people last year in the state, including children and the elderly, in what are being described as secret hold rooms for weeks, without beds, in violation of ICE regulations. Previously, ICE had publicly acknowledged the presence of just one detention facility in Colorado, located in the Denver suburb of Aurora. A group of 31 state lawmakers sent a letter to the leaders of DHS and ICE stating that the existence of undisclosed detention sites hidden in plain sight between strip malls and office parks is unacceptable. Additionally, those lawmakers are demanding, quote, immediate transparency and reasonable notice of operations from all private entities or contractors that provide facilities, staffing, transportation, and services for immigration enforcement operations. ICE did not respond to a request for comment. Now, that development comes as a growing number of people detained by ICE say agents took some of their personal property and then never returned it. A new piece on Substack describes it this way. I'll quote, "Another word for that might be theft, although one supposes it could also be the result of extraordinary carelessness. Federal law enforcement agents routinely collect and subsequently return the possessions of people they detain, but that isn't happening here." Joining us now, the author of that piece, former U.S. Attorney and MS Now legal analyst, our friend Joyce Vance. Joyce, great to see you this morning. Tell us more, please, about what you've discovered and written about how yet another sort of basic norm, basic procedure has been cast aside as part of these deportation operations.
It's really pretty remarkable, Jonathan. In Minneapolis, in connection with Operation Metro Surge, migrants who were detained and then released didn't get their property back. And this was everything from jewelry to cell phones to work permits and driver's licenses, in some cases, papers regarding their permission to be in the country legally. And it wasn't just isolated instances. In fact, federal judges are so overburdened with these cases that they are managing to just accumulate them. Instead of handling one case at a time, they're handling 5. In one case, 25 cases, finding that ICE has engaged in a pattern of refusing to return these items back, sometimes saying that they're lost, only to find them later in Texas. But as the judges have been quick to point out, really burdening these people and their families, making it impossible for them to earn a living, putting some of these families into food insecurity, and making it impossible for them to travel and forcing them to live in fear of ICE because they now don't have the documents they need to prove who they are and who they aren't.
Joyce, Elise here. What kind of restitution is possible for these victims who have their property seized by the government? Because that's what it is. It reminds me of some of the ridiculous cases of civil asset forfeiture that you read about and are just horrified at. And this is happening in so many different cases. I know my colleague Antonia Hilton reported on a similar case in Texas where an iPhone was taken and then found at a pawn shop. And these stories, we know they're happening. How can these victims have some kind of recourse?
Well, right now, the only recourse that a court has ordered is forcing ICE to turn everything over on a very short timeline. And in cases where ICE says that paperwork is lost, they're telling ICE, to the extent that there's DHS paperwork involved, reissue it at no cost. So this has been right now about restoring property, not about seeking civil penalties. But Elise, I might go a step further than you have here. You know, as a young prosecutor in Northeast Alabama, I had a case that involved a police department that was arresting people who were here working, some of them without legal status, and arresting them on payday, when they cashed their paychecks because they were unbanked. And then it would release them the next morning. These weren't good arrests, but the police officers were keeping the money. My office at the time indicted every police officer that was involved and sent them to federal prison. And it's not clear that we're at this point yet with ICE, but when you see this sort of systemic taking of property and this sort of cavalier treatment of it, it raises questions about whether prosecutors will step in to ensure that nothing criminal is going on. And if not federal prosecutors, perhaps we've reached the point where states need to look at protecting people living in their territories.
Former U.S. Attorney and MS Now legal analyst Joyce Vance. Joyce, thank you very much.